You're listening to the Pilot Podcast Season 3, Complex Questions. The Pilot Podcast is brought to you by Kaospilot, an international school for creative leadership and meaningful entrepreneurship based in Aarhus, Denmark. My name is Helga Bryndís, and I am the host of this podcast and a recent graduate from Kaospilot. The challenges we face in the 21st century are highly complex and globally entangled. And with the rise of globalization, ongoing expansion of information technology, and an unfolding environmental crisis, the world has changed in quite radical ways in the past decades alone. At Kaospilot, working with complexity is part of how we learn, decide, and lead. Across the 3-year program, we students explore how to engage with complexity and respond in ways that do not close the question, but expand our capacity to stay with it, so that we can partake in systemic transformation. Through complex questions, we'll step into the uncertainties of these challenges, asking not how to solve them, but how different people are living, wrestling, and experimenting with them today. Our guest for this episode is Sia Seidler. Sia is a Danish leader and project manager whose empathetic and people-centered approach to leadership recently earned her the win in a national reality program called Cheferne, which translates to the bosses. She is joined here with us today to explore the question, how do we lead in a rapidly changing world? Without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, Sia.
Thank you.
I thought it was funny that I translated Cheferne to the bosses.
Oh, it just sounds like, I don't know. I get sort of, do you remember there was that program with, what was his name? No, but that was a Danish one where it was
Then
like a kind of a boss thing, and then you had to sort of be his intern, and he would treat you really bad.
Okay, I've never heard about this.
Yeah, no.
Not worth mentioning. Okay.
Cheferne is not like that, let me say.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy to hear. And how would you introduce yourself? Are you happy with the intro I wrote?
Yes, I am happy.
Would you add anything?
I think that it's, I've tried like a couple of times at different places to be introduced now after I've been to the show. And I keep forgetting that that maybe I've been invited because I was at the show. So I always forget to or sometimes I forget to introduce the fact
that you were on
that I was on the TV. Yeah. And then I just start by I do this for work and la la la. So.
But how did you end up? Let's start there.
Yeah.
How did you end up on a reality program about leadership?
Yeah, it sounds so random that. But I have a hard time explaining it with few words, so you will get the full story.
Yeah. Give us the full story.
I had recently returned from maternity leave.
Okay.
And my maternity leave was really, really hard.
Okay.
Because I had a wonderful boy who is very well now, but he had a heart disease.
Oh.
So from when we figured out that he had the heart disease, and all through my maternity leave, it was just in and out of hospitals. Now he got the surgery, everything's fine.
Okay.
But so I had 2 years, which had been extremely tough and had been all my focus, all my energy, everything in my life had not been about myself or caring for myself or doing something that I found fun or exciting just for me. And so then this opportunity came along, and it came along at a point where I was I don't want a new job tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I want to figure out what is the direction that I want to take? I want a new direction.
Okay, so you were ready for...
Yeah, and in the long run, not okay, let's find another job and let's apply it and stuff like that. And then those two things combined, they wrote to me from the casting agency about this TV show, and I was this sounds kind of exciting. I want to know what's just let me hear a little bit.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another.
And then you ended up on the TV set.
Yeah, and I the thing is that I completely kind of actually forgot that it was a TV program. So I kind of, thought about how it was going to be to do all these tasks. The competition part of it.
Yeah.
I was nervous about it, but I was also excited. I found that okay, let's try this challenge. I want to do more with leadership and management. And I have wanted to do that for quite a while, just not really knowing how to, like, what was my way into it.
Yeah.
So I really thought a lot about the competition, the tasks, all that stuff. And then it was first when, it was airing, I was like, oh shit, like everybody's watching this now, not just, my family or friends.
I'm a reality star.
Yeah, so that kind of hit me a little hard, actually. I mean, but it was my own fault. I should have prepared for it,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. But it was a show, just for people who don't know, like it was a reality program with 12 contestants, right? Candidates?
Yeah. We were.
And then there was like 3 top leaders from like big...
Yeah, like CEOs.
Organizations in Denmark. And they were trying to find the next leadership talent of Denmark. That was like the concept, right? Yeah. And then you had all these tasks that you had to like go through in each episode. And then there was like some sort of elimination along the way.
Yeah, so in each episode, there would be like 2 teams. And you had to choose the team lead. And then whatever team lost... Then from that team, the judges would like pick someone to eliminate.
Yeah.
Or even the team lead would have to pick someone to eliminate, whether it being yourself or...
Okay.
So...
Interesting.
Very, like that part is very reality show.
Like, yeah. But then you ended up like the winner, they got to like get their dream job within one of these 3 organizations that the... what do you call it? The leaders of the show were from. And you chose Danish industry, Dansk Industri. And where have you ended up now? Like, what position did you create with them? And
well, I started having this. It was a really awesome process, and I really admire Dansk Industri for this, actually. They were very open in the beginning, and I had a few meetings with a few sort of directors within Dansk Industri. Just to see, like, where does sort of my, my skill set and my personality and all that stuff, where does it fit in?
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the Department of Global Development and Sustainability, being a project manager. And I worked half a year there with a project around, like, impact startups.
Yeah.
Which was really exciting, but also really tough, because I was, like, all by myself.
In like as a project manager?
Yeah, there was not really any people within the project besides myself.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel like that's how do you kill Sia? You put her
you make her work alone.
Yeah, but there was still like a lot of talk back and forth. Am I in the right position? What do we do?
Okay,
it was still quite open, and then they had another position opening as so I'm no longer a project manager. Now I'm like a team leader.
Yeah,
classic middle management position.
Okay, cool. Team lead.
Yeah, of an sort of an administrative team within policy and education instead of global development and sustainability.
Okay, so you almost moved more into leadership then.
Yeah, now like basically what I do every day, all the time, is management, but like very much on the on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds very exciting. So, like, what is? Yeah, big question. What is leadership to you?
Yeah, I'm happy you say to you, because I feel like there's so many who would have such a like.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different answers to this question, and that's why I ask it in this way.
Thank you. I think that to me, leadership is like so people-centered and people-driven, and it's about how you show up with other people. So leadership is completely relational. It's about having like a deeply felt curiosity towards other people and the people that you are somehow responsible for in whatever that like leadership position entails. And it's about creating the best possible conditions for them to thrive, and for the team or the group, the community, whatever it may be, to work towards something better. Like to strive for something better and something more sustainable.
Okay.
I think to me that is leadership. And I mean, I could talk about that for a long time. So many nuances and stuff, right?
There are. I really like that you add working towards something more sustainable into it. I don't think I've asked this question a couple of times in other episodes. And I don't think I've heard that included. Because guess you can also lead people into war, for example, or like you can lead them into a lot of different directions. So, I personally appreciate that. And what would you say, like, your leadership style is? Because that is ultimately what you were praised and like won with in the reality show. And there's something I think about your leadership style also that signals something else in like another change within leadership. But we'll get into that afterwards. First off, like, what is your leadership style?
I'm sure there's probably like a coined term or something like that I don't know of.
That's fine.
But I think that one thing that kept coming back, and also when people ask me during the show and afterwards and stuff, is like an sort of empathy-driven leadership style or relational leadership style, and even towards, but maybe not all the way. But I'm very interested in that, like collective leadership also. But that's also like on a more organizational level,
which would be more flat structured then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's about, not putting yourself as the leader, atop of the ladder and shout, like, follow me. But like getting down from that ladder, placing yourself like amongst, in the middle of it and saying, let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
In a way.
More collaborative in that sense.
Exactly.
I like that picture also of the ladder. It's like also the climbing the career ladder is like
But I also think which is something that I've reflected upon a lot since the show, because I've had the opportunity to talk a lot about leadership.
Okay.
When you sort of look at leadership styles, I think that one thing is really important is like the context. And I don't know if there is maybe a leadership style called like, I don't know, situational leadership or contextual leadership or whatever. But I mean, I think really good leadership is also about figuring out like
what
to
is
do
needed
what.
here. Yeah.
So in some instances, I mean, I really rely upon like the empathy part of it and the sort of, almost like coaching kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then in other instances, I can feel that, I need to be more sort of facilitating, sometimes more strategic. There are like different things. And so in a way, leadership style becomes more of a language.
Yeah.
Where I think it's really cool if I'm practicing, like I can definitely get better at this. But if you could sort of be more aware of, what leadership style am I sort of applying now? Or what should I apply now?
Kind of like practicing your toolbox and like...
Yeah, so that it's a toolbox rather than like, this is the kind of leader that I am. And in all situations.
Yeah. I think that's a very cool way to look at it as well. And I also like assume that there like is a lot of different situations where maybe like something quite different from empathic leadership style is like what is needed in that situation. So like yeah, I think that's a good point. But back to this like what I just started talking about the like this paradigm shift that at least I see is happening. So like that, what I've been noticing is that at least across Europe, there has been like some signals of the old school command and control leadership style kind of, it's not died down because it's still definitely existing.
Yes.
But it's like moving a bit to the side, and the like emerging leadership style is more like yours, like more, there's a lot of talk about like human-centric leadership and inclusive approaches and other things in that direction. And I think that's very interesting. And like, I'm very curious to hear your perspective on like, why do you think that's changing and like, what do you think is happening?
I think this is like the most interesting question to talk about.
Yeah.
And I really don't know that I have the right answer.
But you can take your take.
I think that in a way, I'm not sure, but I think that this shift has been going on for a while. And I also think that, so then it becomes kind of like, I've been asked this question a couple of times at panel discussions and stuff like that. And they always look at me like I'm some kind of new, example of this shift, and it's like completely new. And what do you want to say to all the old authoritarian leaders and stuff like that? And I'm like, there are so many people out there who are, the same kind of leader that I am. But so many people contacted me after I was in the show.
Yeah.
Mostly women.
Okay.
Who wrote like, I have been, doing like practicing this kind of leadership my whole career, and I've never been valued for it. Thank you, to the show for picking me as a type.
Yeah.
Valuing this specific type of leadership as not just something that, makes people thrive and feel good and blah, 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 but also something that creates results.
Yeah.
I mean, many of the tasks, I was the team lead of a group that won. And I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck that. But just to see that, okay, it's very specific results. People like that, they won and they had this type of leadership. So that kind of resonates with people. And I think that's really interesting. So I think that it is true. There is a shift. I can come back to that also. But there's also sort of a shift in, looking at the types of leaderships that are out there and focusing more and more on something that has existed, I think, always, but maybe in less numbers than now, and really valuing it and seeing it for, the results that it can create.
I like, maybe it's more about that we are, like, as a society, valuing it more, but it's always been there. Like, that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, I think, like you said, there is a shift going on. And I don't know. I was thinking about it when you wrote me these questions, and I was like, maybe it feels like it's a sort of a transition towards just people, having enough of not being treated as human beings at their work. Like this is like the bare minimum, Treat me as a human being, with like proper working conditions and, like participation in what I do and in the decisions that are made at my workplace, where I like spend,
so much time.
So much of my time.
Yeah.
And thank God that like more and more people are, speaking up about it. And I feel like everyone is agreeing that this is the kind of leadership that we want. And then we're still seeing so many examples of bad leadership. And people, getting burned out and run down and all that stuff because of leadership. So
yeah. But I think also what you said about like this, that like people are like, oh, like you can be human-centric and deliver results.
Yeah,
like,
wow.
Oh, okay, that's fun. There's something about like that I think people think about, like the tension or balance between empathy and efficiency, where like we're very efficiency focused also in capitalism, in our workplaces. Like we want to be productive in our work. So I'm like, what do you think empathetic, maybe it's actually called that.
Yeah.
Empathetic leadership style, like, do you think it affects efficiency in a bad way? Because that's, I feel like, what people would be like afraid of, or like.
I think that the answer would always be like more complicated than yes or no, and like extremely, context specific.
Yeah.
But I also believe that we are seeing more and more, if you value, or I'm not sure that's the proper English word, but if you sort of put a value on, so I go to work and I'm there 8 hours and then I produce,
Yes.
You put money on people's time, basically, and their productivity at work. And if you only look at sort of, how many, emails that you write today, or how many strategic proposals, did you do today or whatever, which I think, is sort of a bit more, the way that we used to value things in numbers and, budgets and all that stuff. Then I don't know. But I think we're just seeing, you know, more and more that we can be efficient in so many other ways. And that, you know, something that you sort of, you prioritize spending time today, developing a certain skill set or something like that tomorrow or in a month or something like that, you will be way more efficient doing the same task.
Yeah.
And I think understanding, you know,
maybe it's the long-term vision.
Yeah, the long term, I think. And also, for me, it just relates also with the sustainability of it all.
Yeah.
I think like all through I think even since like I was in high school, I've always been extremely passionate or like interested in trying to figure out, you know, how do we create the most sustainable workplaces that we can.
Okay.
And we spend so much time at work.
Yeah.
And so if we don't go to work and in a meaningful way, something, you know, that develops our skills and makes us happy and stuff like that, you know, we just leave people, you know, unhappy, not being able to take care of themselves, the planet, people around them. So it's so important that you create these sustainable workplaces, and you do that with empathy and so many other things also, where you listen to people and care about them in the way that you care about people at work. I think that's very essential.
Yeah. I think that was a good perspective on it as well. Of course, it's not a yes or no question. It can't be answered like that at all. But like, now that you've you've shifted careers from having been working in the NGO sector for 10 years.
Yeah.
And Dansk Industry is at least not NGO. It must be like categorized as corporate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious about like how that change has been for you, and like, I mean, I guess there are both good and bad things about working in the NGO sector. There's like something about limited resources always there, but many other benefits of working there. What surprised you, or what has surprised you after shifting and starting to work at Dansk Industry?
I think many things.
Yeah.
One of the things that has surprised me like very positively is to see the way that Dansk Industry really does try and push for a more sort of sustainable erhvervsliv.
Working life?
Business in Denmark. They do have quite a huge role to play. And they do push for some of those agendas. Where I was like, oh, those are like the big bad corporates. Like they don't do any of that stuff, but they do. And I think that has surprised me quite positively.
Okay.
And then I think also just like when you're in the same sector and the same sort of line of work, and you surround yourself with the same kind of people that probably also are quite similar to you know, your friend circles and your family and stuff, which they have been in the NGO sector. There are so many sort of, you know, sectors of like our everyday life that I just don't know anything about. Like, this sounds really silly. Like, but when I've started in Danish industry, I was like, now in the supermarket, sometimes I'm like standing with some of the, you know, the different items you can buy. I'm like, wow, I wonder how much, you know, it took to produce this specific thing. And sort of it just gives you, and I don't know why I didn't think about those things before, but it sort of just gives you a whole other perspective on other things that, you know, I mean, are related to your everyday life, but you just kind of take for granted. And I think all those perspectives, like, it makes me more aware of, you know, the complexities of things. And I feel like everybody should do this like once in their life, just to try and switch everything up and do something completely different.
Maybe it's also about this, what you're saying about breaking the bubble. Yeah. Because I guess a lot of people, like, even if you change career, like change jobs, there's fewer people that change careers completely or like leave their bubble.
Definitely.
And I guess that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, you're getting a lot of new perspectives and like value from having shifted your surroundings a bit.
Completely. Yeah. But it was also like, it has been crazy hard
Okay.
and so like self-examining, self-doubting.
Okay.
I mean, like it's like starting over. I feel like I just like graduated from uni and I'm in my first.
It's your first job.
Adult job, because like at first it feels like you don't know. Like I didn't know anything. Of course, now that I've been there some time, and especially now in this new position, I mean, of course I can contribute with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very competent at my work now.
That's good.
But like, I mean, in the first 3 months or something, every day I was just like, I have no clue what this is. I have no clue what I'm doing, because everything was so new, and it's like a different language. It's a different sort of way of looking at things. Everything has a different logic. It's very different.
I guess also it's like it is every time you get a new job, there is a steep learning curve.
Yes.
And maybe that learning curve is just even steeper when you are also shifting sectors.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but there you were ready to, as you said in the beginning, you were ready to have shake it up a little bit and have a change.
Yeah, I think for all of my work life, I feel like I've just like kind of, taken the next natural step in a way. Even though, it's not that I've only been at one place. I've also changed jobs and stuff, but like the next natural, step.
Yeah.
And working with things
flow.
that were related to each other. And I haven't really, like stopped myself and like stood there and examined everything around me and been like, what is it that I'm doing and what is it that I want to do and how can I contribute in the best possible sense to sort of make a difference every day in my work life. So it was kind of crazy and nice to just, take, instead of the next natural step, it was like, falling off a cliff instead and just being like, let's see where I end.
It's like jumping in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
I needed to do that in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it was appropriate timing. But moving into like, if we talk about like the future of leadership, because also now we're like living in a world that is changing very rapidly, and we have also talked now about this. There is some paradigms within leadership shifting, but sometimes at least I feel like it's not because like everything's changing super quickly. Like with it, I don't feel like we're sometimes keeping up with how quickly the world is changing. And I'm like curious, what do you think? Like, what do you think that leadership, or like is kind of, how do I formulate this? Maybe just like what key skills, or like what do you think what kind of leadership do we need in the future, and like the near future going from now?
I think from right now, we need first and foremost to look at leadership as a professional skill set in its own.
Yeah.
So my biggest pet peeve, and you can't even call it pet peeve because it's not something small. It's something I meet like every day, and I've met every day in my whole work life, is that you will meet, managers, leaders, CEOs every day that are extremely competent within their field. So they will be like the expert of experts within a given field. And then because they've reached that sort of knowledge level or level of expertise, management goes, wow, yeah, we can't really give you any more responsibilities within sort of your expertise. So we make you now the boss. But that's a whole other different skill set. Just because you're an expert in, political advocacy or, tax or whatever, does not mean that you have the necessary skills to be a leader that, creates good results and makes people thrive and makes,
because it's both people and the projects,
exactly,
like shape,
so
projects.
And that to me is like one of the, that's just dumb. It's just, I don't understand why. I mean, to me, it's so obvious that those two things, are not the same thing. So, of course, as a leader and a manager and a boss and CEO and all that stuff, I mean, you have to have some kind of knowledge about, the field within, that your team is in, or your department or your organization or whatever. But I mean, you're not there to be the expert at all. You're there to, find the barriers and remove them so that your team can excel and that they can create really good results, and you can all create, change together. So to me, that's like number one would be to really make people understand this difference. And to be brave enough to accept that maybe the leaders don't need to be experts. They don't need to have all the answers. They don't need to know everything and have a plan for everything. Because a lot of us, and I mean, just as, when you work, you look to your leader to have the right answer, to be the expert, but that's not really why they're there. I mean, that's for you to find out. Maybe if you don't know, then, the management will hopefully facilitate a process where you figure it out. So we need that focus, and we need proper priorities and resources put into that. And we need to hire leaders because they're really good leaders, and that's been their education and field of expertise.
Yeah, and I feel there's very little of that.
So few
right now, or even now. Of course, Kaospilot is also a leadership school, and when I've told my family members, I'm studying leadership, and they're like, what does she mean? Yeah. So I think you've nailed something there. Yeah. And I also hear you say this thing about not having the answers is also this maybe a shift from a leader not being the one with the answers, but being the facilitator and the one that leads the way or helps us figure out where to go or something like that.
Yeah.
So
especially with this a world that is changing rapidly, we also talked about. So I mean, imagine if we put all the decisions into, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing with all these white men taking bad decisions for our world, I mean, imagine if we just were the world is changing rapidly. I mean, everything is disrupting. We're in the middle of all these crises. Now you two people figure it out.
Yeah, just the two of you.
How would they ever know how to solve that in a way that creates a better world for as many people as possible?
Yeah.
I mean, so I definitely think we need that, and to see leadership as mainly, facilitating. For sure. Yeah.
That makes sense. The leader as a facilitator. I think we also have to upgrade our understanding of what a facilitator is, because I don't think people in my experience, I had no idea what that meant even before studying how to facilitate. So.
Yeah, and that's an art form in itself. Yeah. Talk about leadership being a specific skill set, so is facilitating, obviously. And so many things sort of correlate within those two, but of course, I mean, that is also not just an easy thing to do.
No.
Especially those difficult conversations that we also need to be having with each other.
That's true.
Yeah.
And what do you think is what do you find challenging about being a leader today?
I think you're touching upon something with this, how the world is changing. Because then we are a huge number of people who look towards the leadership and they're so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now that everything is turned upside down. And having that burden and sort of having to figure out now the responsibility of all this going on, and I have to figure out what is the right way and stuff like that. I mean, that is extremely challenging. But in a more down-to-earth, concrete, specific way, I think that when I go out and I talk in these panel discussions and stuff, they always talk about generational leadership.
Okay, what does that mean?
So they talk a lot about the different generations and how Gen Z is coming out onto the workforce, and they are so different. And they are setting so many demands, and they're so lazy, they don't want to work.
Oh, damn.
And it's I just don't, first of all, not true. No. Second of all, it's sort of, you have all these people and these like older generations being like, we're meeting all these challenges in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're sort of piling it together. And then they're putting it in a box called, okay, different generations must mean, you need different leadership styles to each generation and how to go about that, and la la la. And I think that's just a really good example of how we sort of take, the challenges and put them into something that's just too black and white in a way.
Yeah, we try to box it down. Or at
Yeah.
least this is what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Generational leadership sounds like it's like very boxed in, like this
Completely.
generation needs exactly this, and kind of takes away from like looking at the diversity of the group you are I don't know, leading, and seeing what different skills and
Exactly. And I feel like that's why, curiosity and empathy for me are those two, like, those two should be the buzzwords of leadership in my eyes, because it's, as long as you're always curious about the person or the group or the organization that you're sitting, in front of, and being like, what are you motivated, from, and what change do you want to make? What skill set do you have? How do we grow that? Do you want to grow that? Do you want to grow something completely different? And how can that create value where we are? And answering those questions together, I think that is just key. But instead, we sort of, we put leadership in all these theoretical terms and these paradigms, and now the newest thing is calling it this or this or this.
Yeah, we love labels.
Yeah, we
and
do,
boxes.
but we don't really need it. I don't think so.
I think we can at least move past it.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, and I mean, some labels and ways of looking at leadership, you sort of need those to look at it in through different glasses.
Yeah,
does that make
lenses,
sense? Like, so yeah, lenses. Yes. So you still need some of it, of course, but
yeah,
maybe not as much.
Maybe. But I have one last question for you, which is like a wondering I have, like, do you think I feel like I have like also tried to answer this myself, but there's something about like leaders. Do you think leadership can shape the systems that it's operating within? Like, do you think, do you view leadership to have that impact, or have the option to have that impact?
Definitely. But I think that sort of that's where, I mean, I definitely believe that leadership is not something that you're like born with.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this as being like a professional skill set. Of course, maybe there are some who would be better leaders than others. But I think that, I mean, so that you can learn those things and you can become, a more competent leader. But I do think that in that situation that you're describing, to sort of, develop sort of the, what did you call it, within the system, and change it.
Yeah, exactly. If you're able to like shape the own system, the system you're working within. Yeah,
I think that takes more than just like learned skills. I think it does take, not that it's like a specific kind of person, but I think someone who's also, I think someone who goes all in on the leadership part in a way, and really sort of has a drive to change things and to be able to sort of like be brave and do something different and test it, especially with the whole like you don't have all the answers. So I mean, that means that you're allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah,
you're allowed to go, outside whatever system that you're working in, try different things and see, okay, can we actually find ways of working, of of creating value in a different way, that is more meaningful, that helps more people, that is more sustainable for our world and our planet. But I think it's hard to find those people.
And maybe actually, like, while you were talking, I thought maybe it's also not, or seldomly, like one person's task.
Yeah.
Like a leader is only just one human.
Exactly.
So maybe it's often also something that happens within a team or like There's something we can do together.
But sometimes it takes, like, I definitely agree. Sometimes it does take, like, that one person who is in a position of power, like, let's just, call it what it is, to say those magic words. Like,
and to initiate it.
Yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was working in Amnesty International when they introduced the 4-day work week.
Okay.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was actually the one general secretary had quit. And then there was sort of like, you have that vacuum space where you're recruiting for the next one. So we had like a sub who was our vice general secretary or whatever you call it. And he was just like, it was not his idea. There had been people, in HR and stuff, like researching and, trying to find out, would this be something for us? But he was in that position at that time and he was like, let's do it.
Okay.
And they did it, and it's still a success, and people are really thriving, and I mean, yeah.
So it was like a success story that you experienced yourself.
Yeah, and it did take him to be like, I'm not doing this, for my own sake, and this is not my idea, but now I am, I'm pressing the switch. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Because we still have those sort of systems of power. We still need that, final say from the boss.
Yeah.
In a way.
Except if we just change the whole organizational structure and way of leading, we'll see.
Oh, yes. And we can come back and talk about collective leadership another time.
Exactly. It was actually one of the questions I also had written down, but there's never enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll end it. I think that was a nice little example story to end it off with. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, is there any place where, like, if people want to follow your work, do you have places where people can follow you? Maybe LinkedIn?
Maybe LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm not like the best to like, or the most frequent poster and stuff, but definitely.
Okay.
And I always like people reaching out and writing. I answer maybe after a couple of days, but I do.
That's okay. That's okay. Within a week.
Yeah.
I accept it.
Yes.
Answering time.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Lovely. Well, thank you again for coming today, and thank you for listening. And to our listeners, stay tuned for further episodes coming on the podcast. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna listening to us, our little technician. Just gonna record the intro.
Yes. What is the intro?
I've created 2 intros. I'm in this like limbo because one is very formal, but the other one is also just very me. So I'm like, I don't know which one to go for. And it's also just like, it's so long that I can't, or I haven't memorized it. At least I haven't. Yeah. So is there something about like when you read it out loud, it becomes a bit mechanic. So we'll see how it goes now. Yeah.